It's Alesia. If you don't know, now you know. You're a resident crazy Eurovision fan who happens to live in America, and it's hard not to be cynical. It really, really is difficult not to be cynical when you break down and just look at the cold, hard numbers. I knew Eurovision 2016 was going to be super competitive. I predicted it. I said it was going to be competitive. I said everyone was going to come with their A game. And of course, I was not let down in Stockholm, Sweden, which I was there. Woo, 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 woo. So now, like most of you fans, I know that when we looked at the jury scores, it was pretty shocking. I don't know. I'm not taking anything away from Jamala. I think Jamala totally deserved to win. Her song was amazing. I love 1944. When I first heard it, she was always in my top 10 list. I really, really liked the song. And I said I thought the song would either be made or broken by like the stage show, but let's be real, Ukraine always delivers when it comes to Eurovision. They take this seriously and they give us quality. So I wasn't expecting to be let down, and that of course did not happen. God, like what is going on with the juries? But yeah, when you look at the jury scores, I mean, it really is quite shocking. I on a level, it's like you sometimes look down at the breakdown of who is actually on some of these juries. And I'm gonna be real, I just feel like it should honestly be music professionals only. I think if you are a television presenter, great. But if you're not a television presenter for like The Voice or an idol show or some type of music-based show, you shouldn't be a jury member. And I feel like if you've never stepped foot in a production studio, you don't play an instrument or have any kind of concept of music composition, I personally don't think that those people should be juries, because I feel like the juries are sort of put in place to ensure that there's like a level of quality that we Eurovision fans are going to get. And looking at the jury scores this year, I mean, clearly there is a taste level question and a question of quality, because let's be real, some of those countries needed less points, and we're going to talk about those countries today. Well, first off, I have to say that I do think the jury got it right when they gave it to Dami Im. I mean, Dami Im was amazing. I think the song was great. Her vocals, amazing. The stage show was good. So the juries weren't completely smoking the pipe on that. But when it came to some of these other countries, I just think that they could have given them less points, because there were some countries that were better. One of the countries I point out that I think was better is Russia. Like, if Russia didn't want to compete in the future, I wouldn't even be mad at them. The fact that you had, I think it was six juries who didn't even give Russia any points. I mean, how can a viewer at home not feel like there's some type of politics at play or some type of conspiracy? Why would I want to spend all this time prepping, getting excited to enter something that even if I do the best, that I'm still gonna lose just all like legitimately BS? I am not surprised that the juries ranked Dami Im their number one. I'm not surprised by that. But when you have juries that are legitimately leaving Russia out, that is a problem. Point blank. And I think any jury that left Russia out, I would investigate. Pitch perfect. There was not a bum note in sight. Okay, so who else needed less points? I'll start off with an obvious one. Belgium clearly needed less points. I mean, we basically heard that song last year. I liked it then. You know, I didn't like the redone version this year. Yes, Laura is a great performer. Yes, what she did on stage was great, and I give her credit for that. But we need to take some points down just based off the fact that the song was generic. The thing is, we've heard songs like that so many times, and this really was the watered down, least quality version of this type of song. And that's just me being honest, point blank, and derivative at best. Austria, you know, it's crazy because I honestly didn't even think Austria should have made it into the final. Yes, it was a fun, catchy little song. It was a cute little ditty. No, I'm not going to be driving down the streets with it blasting out of my car. No, I'm not going to have that happen. But let's be real. That song next to a Calliope, That song next to even Bosnia-Herzegovina. I mean, that song just wasn't that good. Catchy does not mean good. Catchy doesn't mean good. Let's put it against things in the final. I mean, to give Austria all those points, nah. Like, I cannot rationalize it. It makes no sense to me. The song is just fine, but did it need all those points? No. Catchy doesn't mean good. Sweden. Give me a break. They didn't need those points at all. Firstly, let's just say, y'all weren't trying to go to Gothenburg. You weren't trying to have SVT host anyway, so why waste all those good points on Sweden? Give me a break. The song really wasn't that good. Sweden had better offerings in Melfest, but I mean, it could be argued that every year they do, because Melfest is super competitive and is always going to give us quality. But let's just base it off the fact that you didn't want SVT to host again. You didn't want to go to Gothenburg. So why waste all those points on Sweden? They didn't need those points. And I really feel like Franz should have gone the Robin route. Even though I liked Robin's song better than Franz's song, it was like they didn't want to go to Stockholm that year either. So it was like, why waste those points? Azerbaijan. I wasn't really expecting them to not be in the final, but it wasn't based off anything musically that was happening on that stage. That's for damn sure. So yeah, the idea that these juries would even give points to Azerbaijan, I mean, it's like you are just slowly losing all of your credibility. They could have taken some of those points away. Poland. Now, I will say the juries did not give that many points to Poland. But they could have given no points for all I care. And lastly, I hate to say this because this is one of my favorites going into the competition, but I gotta call France out. I gotta call France out mostly because I did like the song. And I'm not gonna lie, the songs that I actually like, I do tend to judge a little bit harder because I understand the potential at play. France could have won this year. France could have won this year. And what gave it away was his vocals. I mean, do you know there was a moment in the final where he actually was lip syncing to one of the backing vocals? He showed up to Stockholm, Sweden. His vocals had clearly not been protected, but then it didn't even seem like then they were trying to do some things to protect his voice and to make it so that he could hit those notes. I mean, we had heard him sing the song live before, so we know that it's possible for him to do it, but he legitimately did not have the ability to do it in Stockholm because he had blown his vocals out by talking and doing interviews and not protecting his voice. And of course he would do that because he's an amateur. He's not a professional singer. He doesn't know what goes into this and the things that you have to do to protect your voice ongoing 24/7. He does not have that skill, and because he didn't have that skill, he got up on that stage and, in my opinion, essentially killed all of our dreams of Paris 2017 single-handedly, all because he couldn't get close to some herbal tea, lemon and honey. This is what happens when you have amateurs get on stage and you don't have trained vocalists who know what it's like to do this for a living. I mean, speaking about France, I mean, the fact that the juries gave France third place, and mind you, France was at one point my #1 favorite song. I wanted Paris 2017 so bad. The minute that he got on stage and started singing, I mean, no way I could have put him even in my top 10 because he simply could not interpret the material at all. His vocals were completely shot, and I place all the blame honestly on Amir. I thought the staging was actually good, which some people argued the staging, but I think the staging could have worked. I also think the fact that they didn't hire a choreographer, not to have him doing dance moves, but when you have someone who is an amateur on stage, I think it is very important to give that person direction. So although the choreography would be loose, he needed a little bit more direction. At times, it almost seemed like he was lost. And I mean, honestly, all of that doesn't even really matter. quite frankly, he legitimately could not interpret the material given to him because he did not have the tools to protect his most important asset that he could bring to the stage, which is his voice. The juries also gave Malta 4th place, which, again, with France, look, I loved Malta's song. I had it in my top 10. But for Malta to be 4th place above Armenia, above Serbia even, I'm not gonna lie, like, that is actually pretty shocking to me. And it's like you just can't help but feel like something about this is definitely not adding up. Something about this is off. And honestly, with the juries, because they are music experts, you really sort of expect them to help out acts like Serbia. I mean, the televote had Malta in 21st place, which I don't think I would have had Malta in 21st place. I think Malta could have still cracked my top 10, but it had no business being top 5. Serbia's song, I believe, was performed well on stage. The vocals were good. The song did have meaning. A lot of people criticized Russia's song for being too pop, fluffy, whatever. I understand that criticism. So then you would think that the juries would sort of come in here and give a little bit more credit to art. But Walk on Water is just as kind of generic pop, R&B, fluffy, whatever. And the same thing with France. I mean, France's song, yes, it has a little bit more meaning, but it is just a pop song. If we want to judge things that way, it's just a pop song. And Amir wasn't doing half the things that Sergei was doing on stage. So for France to come in 3rd and Russia be 5th with the juries is just... It just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, all in all, this year at Eurovision, I think it really highlighted a need to rethink this whole entire jury system. I'm not saying that we get rid of the juries altogether. I think there's a place for them, but I think that maybe the EBU needs to get a little bit more strict about the people who are going to be participating in these juries. Maybe have that criteria fine-tuned and tightened up a little bit to ensure that the people that you have judging these songs are truly going to be judging these songs with a musical ear and with an eye to showmanship as well, and are looking at the full package and are adult enough and objective enough to not allow politics to enter the room. Right now, I'm not feeling too confident about this jury system. It's something about it that is just off, and we need to tweak it and we need to rethink it. Do you agree with me? Talk to me in the comments below. Do you disagree with me? Talk to me in the comments below. This is a conversation. It's me, Alesia, and you know what? I'm gonna rally and I am gonna get so pumped about Kiev 2017.